fake HOA said he shouldn't complain. He was the reason they could sleep peacefully. The summer sun beat down on Pine Hollow, a suburban sprawl where every house looked like it was auditioning for a real estate brochure. Perfectly trimmed hedges, gleaming SUVs, and mailboxes that screamed conformity lined the streets. But at the end of Sycamore Court, one house stood apart, not for its paint or landscaping, but for the quiet intensity of the man who lived there. Daniel Ruiz, a 38-year-old former Marine, had moved in a year ago, his presence as unassuming as the modest ranch-style home he'd chosen. Daniel was lean, with a shaved head and a scar that curved from his left temple to his jaw, a memento from a Fallujah ambush. His dark eyes held a mix of vigilance and weariness, the kind earned through years of carrying a rifle and a nation's weight. Daniel wasn't one for small talk. He kept his lawn neat, his driveway clear, and his life private. But every evening, just as dusk settled, he'd step onto his porch in his old Marine fatigues, the faded camouflage still crisp from careful ironing. He'd sit in a oval wooden chair, a glass of iced tea in hand, and watch the neighborhood settle into its quiet routine. The fatigues weren't for show. They were a ritual, a way to honor the men he'd lost and the life he'd left behind. A small Marine Corps flag hung by his door, fluttering gently, the only outward sign of his past. To most of Pine Hollow, it was a quirk they tolerated. To Karen Ellison, it was a declaration of war. Karen was the undisputed dictator of the Pine Hollow Homeowners Association, a 42-year-old woman whose platinum blonde pixie cut and tailored blazers gave her the air of a corporate shark. Her smile was a weapon, sharp and disarming, and her emails were legendary for their mix of sugary politeness and veiled threats. The HOA was her fiefdom, its 47-page rulebook her gospel. Daniel's fatigues, his flag, his very existence challenged her control. He didn't attend her meetings, didn't respond to her newsletters, and worst of all, he'd had the audacity to complain, quietly through official channels, about the neighborhood's faulty streetlights, which flickered and died at night, leaving Sycamore Court in darkness. The complaint wasn't personal, but Karen took it as an attack. "Who does he think he is?" she fumed at a board meeting, her manicured nails tapping the table. "He moves in, ignores our community spirit, and then demands we fix things? If he doesn't like it, he can leave." Her inner circle, Maureen, a nosy empty nester, and Brad, a gym bro accountant, nodded along. Others, like Aisha, a young teacher who lived next to Daniel, weren't so quick to agree. "The streetlights are a safety issue," Aisha said, her voice steady. "He's right to bring it up." Karen's eyes narrowed, but she moved on, already plotting her next move. It started with a letter, delivered to Daniel's mailbox on a sweltering June afternoon. "Dear Mr. Ruiz," it read in Karen's immaculate font, "your public display of military attire and unauthorized flag violate HOA guidelines, Section 5.3. Additionally, your complaint about community infrastructure is disruptive. Cease both immediately or face penalties." Daniel read it over dinner, his jaw tight. He'd dealt with worse than Karen, insurgents, sandstorms, the VA's bureaucracy, but her words stung. Disruptive? He'd spent a decade ensuring people like her could sleep soundly, and now she was policing his clothes? He folded the letter, set it aside, and went to his porch. Fatigues on, flag still flying. Karen wasn't used to being ignored. She rallied her troops, posting in the HOA's online forum about maintaining harmony and respecting shared standards. The post was a thinly veiled jab at Daniel, complete with a photo of his flag snapped from her car. Maureen commented, "Some people think they're above the rules." Brad added a flexing emoji, his version of solidarity. But the post didn't land as Karen hoped. Aisha replied, "That's a Marine flag. He served. Maybe we should thank him instead of complaining." The comment got 23 likes, a small rebellion that made Karen's blood boil. She confronted Daniel the next day, striding up his driveway in her signature blazer, a clipboard clutched like a shield. He was on his porch, iced tea in hand, the scar on his face catching the fading light. "Mr. Ruiz," she began, her voice dripping with faux sweetness. "I'm sure you saw my letter. This outfit and that flag are against the rules. And your complaint about the streetlights? Frankly, you're stirring up trouble. If you're so unhappy, why stay?" Daniel set his glass down, his movements deliberate. "Ma'am," he said, his voice low but steady, "I wore these fatigues in places you'll never see, for people I'll never forget. The flag stays. And the streetlights? They're a hazard. I'm not stirring trouble. I'm trying to keep this place safe." His words were calm, but they carried the weight of a man who'd faced death and won. Karen bristled. "Safety?" she scoffed. "Don't hide behind your service. And how do we even know it's real? Anyone can wear a uniform and play hero." The accusation was a grenade, lobbed with casual cruelty. Daniel's eyes darkened, but he said nothing, just watched her retreat, her heels clicking furiously. Pine Hollow was a tinderbox, and Karen's words were the spark. The neighborhood buzzed with gossip, splitting into factions. Karen's loyalists doubled down, whispering about stolen valor and entitled newcomers. Maureen told anyone who'd listen that Daniel was probably exaggerating his service, while Brad posted a meme about fake tough guys. But others were outraged. Aisha, whose uncle had been a Navy SEAL, was livid. "She accused a veteran of lying," she said at the community pool, her voice carrying. "That's not just wrong, it's disgusting." Aisha decided to act. She'd noticed Daniel's quiet gestures, the way he'd check the streetlights himself at night, the way he'd wave to kids on their bikes despite the whispers. She recruited her student, 16-year-old Noah, a tech whiz with a knack for digging up information. "Find out who Daniel is," she told him, "not for gossip, for justice." Noah, thrilled by the mission, dove into public records, military databases, and obscure veteran blogs. What he uncovered would change Pine Hollow forever. July brought unrelenting heat and escalating tensions. Karen's campaign grew ruthless. She issued fines, $100 a week for Daniel's non-compliant attire and flag. When he paid without protest, she pushed harder, proposing a rule to ban any militaristic displays at the next HOA meeting. The proposal ignited fiery arguments. Aisha stood up, her voice shaking with anger. "You're punishing a man for honoring his service. This isn't about rules. It's about your ego, Karen." Maureen gasped, but others nodded, including Tom, a quiet retiree who'd served in Vietnam. Karen's response was icy. "This is about fairness. If we let him break the rules, we'll have chaos." The neighborhood was fracturing. At the local coffee shop, debates turned into shouting matches. "Karen's gone too far," Tom said over his latte, his hands trembling with indignation. "That boy's a Marine. I know the look." Across the room, Maureen parroted Karen's line. "If he's so proud, why's he causing trouble?" The barista, fed up, posted a sign. "No HOA drama." It didn't help. Daniel kept his routine, but the pressure was taking a toll. His evening porch time grew shorter, his gaze more distant. Isha noticed the way he'd linger by the flag, his fingers brushing the fabric as if seeking strength. She and Noah worked tirelessly, their research revealing a man whose courage shamed Pine Hollow's pettiness. Noah found a 2012 Marine Corps Times article about then showing it. Daniel Ruiz, who led his squad through a 12-hour firefight in Fallujah, saving 3 wounded Marines despite taking shrapnel to the face. The Silver Star citation was online, as was a Purple Heart record. A grainy video from a 2015 Veterans Gala showed Daniel, newly retired, speaking haltingly about his squad. "They were my brothers," he said, voice cracking. "I owe them everything." Noah also found a blog post from a now-defunct veteran site, written by Dries11 in 2016. It was a raw confession about PTSD, about waking up screaming names he'd never forget, about wearing his fatigues to feel whole again. The post was anonymous but unmistakably Daniel's, its details matching his story. Aisha urged Noah to share it, but he hesitated. "This is private," he said. "What if he doesn't want it exposed?" Aisha nodded but insisted. "Karen's slandering him. The truth will protect him." They left a manila envelope on Daniel's porch, stuffed with printouts and a note. "We know what you did. How can we fight for you?" Daniel found it at dusk, the envelope heavy in his hands. He read it alone, the papers trembling as memories flooded back. Fallujah, the smoke, the screams. He'd buried it all, but Karen's accusations had ripped the wounds open. Aisha's gesture, though, was a lifeline. He called her the next morning, his voice rough but resolute. "Share it," he said. "Not for me, for them." Noah posted the evidence in the HOA forum, a detailed thread with links, scans, and the gala video. He ended with Daniel's blog quote, "I wear these fatigues because they're gone, and I'm not. It's not pride, it's duty." The forum erupted. Comments poured in. Shock, shame, fury. "Karen, you're a disgrace," wrote Tom, his words blunt. Aisha added, "This is who you're fining? A man who saved lives?" Even Maureen went silent, her loyalty wavering. Brad deleted his meme, muttering about misunderstandings. Karen was incandescent. She banned the thread, claiming it was divisive, but screenshots circulated on group chats and email chains. Neighbors showed up at Daniel's porch, not to stare, but to listen. Tom brought a thermos of coffee and swapped war stories. Aisha organized a barbecue and dozens attended, their paper plates piled high with apologies. Daniel didn't gloat. He just sat, fatigues on, flag flying, his scar softened by the firelight. The fines stopped, but Karen wasn't finished. She sent a legal notice accusing Daniel of inciting unrest and demanding he retract his defamatory story. It was a desperate gambit, and it was her undoing. Pine Hollow was done with her. At the August HOA meeting, Tom proposed a motion to remove Karen as president. The community center was packed, the air electric with anticipation. Karen fought back, her voice shrill as she accused Daniel of exploiting his past to undermine her. Aisha stood, holding the envelope like a talisman. "Exploiting?" she said, her voice cutting through the room. "You called a decorated Marine a liar. You fined him for honoring his dead. That's not leadership. That's cruelty." She read the Silver Star citation aloud, each word a hammer blow. The room stirred, then roared, applause drowning Karen's protests. Daniel rose from the back, his chair creaking. The crowd hushed. "I didn't ask for this," he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "I wore these fatigues for my brothers, not for you. I complained about the streetlights because I know what darkness costs. You called me a fake, Karen, but you're the one hiding, behind rules, behind power." He looked at her, not with anger, but with quiet disdain. "You'll never understand what it means to serve." He sat and the room exploded, not in chaos but in unity. Karen fled the podium, her blazer askew. The vote was unanimous. She was out, replaced by Aisha, who vowed to prioritize people over paperwork. The streetlights were fixed within a week, their glow a small victory. Daniel didn't celebrate. He was on his porch, fatigues on, iced tea in hand, watching the neighborhood breathe easier. September brought crisp air and a new Pine Hollow. Karen's reign was over, her house listed for sale, her pixie cut spotted only in fleeting glimpses. She never apologized, but a note appeared in Daniel's mailbox, typed and unsigned. "I was mistaken." It was cold, but it was enough. Daniel filed it away, a footnote to a fight he hadn't wanted. The neighborhood changed. Daniel's porch became a hub, not for pity, but for connection. Neighbors brought lawn chairs, kids drew chalk art on his driveway, and Daniel shared stories. Pranks from boot camp, the weight of command, the names he'd never forget. Aisha became a regular, her laughter a balm. Noah, now a local hero for his research, built Daniel a website to archive his squad's stories, a digital memorial that drew veterans from across the country. The real turning point came in November, when Pine Hollow's mayor invited Daniel to a Memorial Day ceremony. The neighborhood mobilized, chartering a bus to the city plaza. Daniel, in his fatigues, was honored with a Community Service Award, not for Fallujah, but for exposing Pine Hollow's blind spots. The crowd, neighbors, veterans, even a humbled Brad, stood as he accepted it, his silver star gleaming under the sun. Aisha wept, Tom saluted, and Noah live-streamed it, captioning it, "This is our Marine." Daniel returned to his porch that evening, fatigues on, flag fluttering. The streetlights glowed, casting a steady light on Sycamore Court. Pine Hollow wasn't perfect, but it was learning to listen, to see, to value sacrifice over status. The fatigues weren't just Daniel's anymore. They were the neighborhood's, a reminder that peace came at a price, and the man who paid it was the reason they could sleep soundly.